Good afternoon to everyone, and well, I'll tell you, first of all, I want to thank Kerry Scott and Law Shield. Kerry's just done a great job of setting up this marvelous venue and putting this event together. This is more than just an ordinary law seminar. It's really an event that we'd like to see grow bigger and bigger through the years, and I'm sure it will, because what we're facing in Jersey isn't going away. As a matter of fact, there's some very perilous things on the horizon we've got to be very worried about, particularly the election of our next governor, who absolutely will not be Governor Christie, who has been a friend to the gun owner. And there's some very serious threats out there that my dear friend Scott Bach, I'm sure, will address. This is perilous times for the gun owners, yet there's tremendous optimism, too, because federally, I think we're going to see the biggest, newest wave of liberty coming our way once certain other priorities are taken care of federally. I'm very optimistic, and via the federal mechanism is a way we can really get great change in New Jersey. I'll tell you, this program, what Law Shield's doing, and all that Kerry's going to talk to you later about, I am a true believer in my heart in this. I mean, I really am. I believe that this is something that will be able to protect law-abiding citizens at this incredibly reasonable rate, so that when the challenges are needed, money's not going to be an issue for anybody, because they pay for everything. And we'll be able to challenge and fight without worrying about you losing their house because you got charged with some ridiculous New Jersey gun law. And we can take it so far that we can kill the law and they pay it if we need to, if we have to fight it that hard and that far. So it's the kind of things like that that's very encouraging. This will have impact not only to you as an individual, but has impact to the bigger picture ultimately. And I see that vision, and that's why I'm proud to be part of it as a program attorney. But one thing is for certain, we've had major battles, we've had major threats, and New Jersey has got to be the most difficult place to live as a gun owner. Without a doubt, it's the worst gun laws. I'll show you why, and I'll prove to you by the end of this event, in case you had any doubt, that New Jersey is the worst, and has the worst, and is the worst to be a gun owner. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be one. As a matter of fact, you absolutely should be. And we can't be fearful, but we need to be smart. We also need to fight. And when it comes down to fighting, this is where I'm proud to say that my dear, dear friend Scott Bach is here today to speak to all of us. And Scott is an amazing guy. And he's really, I think a lot of times he's very much unappreciated. I don't think people recognize the role that Scott has. I can best position Scott Scott is like what Wayne LaPierre is to the NRA. Scott is to our state NRA, okay? Scott is in that role, in that leadership position, in the state association. Our state association is the state NRA affiliate. So when you hear about things happening in Trenton that you're concerned about, you need to know that it's our association, the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs, which is the state affiliate of the national NRA. It's that group with its paid lobbyists, okay? And Scott is not their paid lobbyist, Scott's in the lead, but they have paid lobbyists who's great. And Scott works directly with them, works 24/7, and is so dedicated. And the fights that we've been through, think about this. He was at the helm through the McGreevey administration and through the Corzine administration, and now with Christie. And think about, how bad those governors were, yet we barely lost any ground, barely. And we've actually gained ground because of Governor Christie. Now, granted, it's measured in a lot smaller, amounts, but that's amazing when you think about the odds of having Democrat governor, Democrat-controlled legislature, and fighting that fight on our behalf, and what he was able to accomplish with the other two governors to what he's done positively now with Chris. Now, of course, it's not just Scott. It's Scott and everybody else that works, all of you that work. But we have to praise our leaders when they deserve it, and he sure as hell does, and I've seen it firsthand. And we would be in really, really bad shape without Scott. And some of you may not know, but I've been in this game a long time, okay? And I remember when we had a split in our gun rights defenses, and where our state association didn't do a damn thing to protect our gun rights, not a thing. And it was all left to the coalition of New Jersey sportsmen to so-called fight for our rights. And that's when the assault firearm ban passed, and the repeal failed. And you've seen a lot of really egregious laws come into place because the model was broken in Jersey. And it was supposed to be through the state association, not abdicating their responsibility. Now, truth is, that's all over now. Coalition's gone. The state association has taken, with the leadership of Scott, its full and proper role as the protector, as the state NRA, and has made itself known and has had incredible influence. And luckily, the old days there are gone. And we owe so much to Scott. Not only is Scott in this role for us on our state and so dedicated in this manner, but Scott also is on the NRA board of directors. Now let me be clear, that's not an automatic thing. Just because you're in your state NRA, you get to be on, no. He's elected there by you NRA members that are 5 years or greater, particularly 5 years life members, etc. You get to vote for who serves on that board. And in the magazine you've gotten those ballots. Well, on the ballot you've seen at times Scott Bach's name running. We are so fortunate to have him on the board of directors at NRA, one of 76 directors for the national organization. Because there's nobody else from New Jersey. Not a single other one of those 76 directors are even from this state. And not that many are even from the Northeast, frankly. So we have representation. We have a great guy on that board. We want to keep him there, and it's important. And then he's able to get, and has gotten, lots of funding to our state for various legislative and judicial causes. He's been able to get NRA attention and focus nationally to us, and money and grants. I mean, this is, and it's stuff you probably don't know unless you really follow it closely. But I know, and I can tell you, it's amazing the job he's done. So, by having Scott on the board of directors, the head of our organization, and he's right in the thick of it. And if I have a question, right, everyone says, well, I'm the guy that knows all this stuff. But I'll tell you what, if I have a question about anything current on gun law, and I go to Scott. He's the guy. He's right on it, right on the money every time. What's going on, what the deal is. And is as vigilant, the most gun rights vigilant guy in the entire state, without a doubt. So I am really proud to be here today to introduce my dear friend Scott Bach, who's going to tell you a lot of fascinating things, and he is somebody who's been there and done that and in the fight and truly dedicated to that. Scott, where are you hanging out? There you are. Come on down here and right up. Scott, my pleasure, man. Thank you for coming here today, too. Appreciate it.
So this could be the first time that the introduction exceeds the length of my remarks. We'll see. Welcome all. Evan, thank you. And let me just tell you, Evan is actually one of my secret weapons. Okay, and he's everybody knows Evan Knappen, the gun law guru, but Evan is actually, he plays a quiet role behind the scenes, helping me do what I do, because, when we have new legislation come up, and it happens all the time, we have, 10 lawyers look at it, I look at it, we all study it, and then we give it to Evan. And Evan finds stuff in legislation that's pending that nobody else can find. Now, he's a little bit of a raw force of energy. We have to sometimes filter out what he wants to do, but Evan has played this quiet role for a decade and a half with us, actually making a huge difference in helping to shape what the association and what NRA does and says, and being much more effective defending gun rights in New Jersey. So Evan, thank you. And thank you for your friendship. Thank you for everything you do. There are times when I say, what would I do without Evan? And I mean that. So, and also thank you to U.S. Law Shield for running Gunstock. This is fantastic. The Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs is happy to help host and sponsor this and get this particular event off the ground. So, just out of curiosity, any NRA members here? Okay, almost all the group. So, you're here to learn a lot about New Jersey gun law from Evan, and also about Pennsylvania gun law from Michael, I believe it is. And so, but I'm going to start with what I call New Jersey Gun Law 101, right? And I tell this to all the new members of the association who join our range once a month. And I say, New Jersey Gun Law 101 is, New Jersey starts by banning everything there is about firearms, right? Everything is banned in New Jersey except where the government allows it. That means gun ownership, possession, transfer, transportation. Everything there is to do with guns is banned except where the government allows it. So now you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's crazy, that's backwards, right? Imagine if you did that with the First Amendment, right? All free speech is banned except where the government allows it. That makes no sense at all. It is backwards, it's unconstitutional, and it will not stand in the post-Heller and McDonald era. It's just that we are currently in lag time, and we're dealing with a tremendous amount of resistance in the New Jersey State Legislature. So, yeah, by the way, what Evan, just picking up a thread that Evan raised on the future nationally, I'm going to make a bold statement here today, and that is that right to carry's time in New Jersey is coming.
Yeah!
Okay, now it's not coming right around the corner, so don't celebrate yet, but here's what we have on the horizon. Under the Trump administration, there's two avenues through which we are going to drag New Jersey kicking and screaming into the post-Heller and McDonald era and get right to carry. One of them is through the appointment of at least one more U.S. Supreme Court justice, and hopefully two. We all know in the Heller and McDonald case, it was a 5-4 split. It was hanging on by a hair. Anybody not know the case I'm talking about? U.S. Supreme Court, groundbreaking case, 2009, that held for the first time that the Second Amendment protects an individual right to own firearms in your home. Okay, long story short. But the bottom line is, either through changes in the U.S. Supreme Court and or through federal legislation that's now pending through reciprocity, which I'm not going to get into detail on because I want to get into political threats in a minute, because that's what's on our plate right now. That's the big thing that's coming. But you have to imagine with New Jersey gun law the way it is, it's all a ban with limited exceptions. And that's, by the way, that's how you get these crazy cases of Shaneen Allen and Brian Aitken and innocent people who are turned into victims, which Evan will talk about more later, I'm sure, because they wandered outside of the exemptions. I mean, do you think these people crafted these exemptions carefully? Okay, do you think these people have any idea what it's like to be a gun owner? They don't. They did it haphazardly, and they have no clue. And that's why people are getting thrown in jail for no reason. So, but you have to wonder, big picture, right? With pretty much every bad gun law that there is, you got to wonder why the politicians in New Jersey want more. Why are they always calling for more gun control? Okay? They're calling for smart guns. Now, we have a smart gun law. They're trying to trigger it by declaring that there's a smart gun for sale. By the way, the smart gun law is a handgun ban, just for those of you who don't know. It would ban the sale or transfer of every conventional handgun ever made, okay? We have had magazine bans, 50 caliber bans. Last year, anybody, you guys remember, there was a gigantic attack on ranges that could have had the potential to shut down every range in the Garden State. We have gun-free zones, constantly calling for gun-free zones, and everybody here understands that a gun-free zone is really a victim zone. It's a place where you create disarmed people, but there is a more nefarious part of gun-free zones than just creating a victim disarmament zone. And that is, if you take a lot of these a lot of these pieces of legislation, what they will do is they will say, okay, within 500 feet of a school, you can't have a firearm with you, right? So, or a school or a municipal facility. So if you put that on a map and draw a 500-foot circle, or whatever the distance is, around every public facility, you wind up with a giant swath where their Second Amendment rights are essentially shut down. And that's the nefarious side of gun-free zones. They're really a clever way to try to create areas where there are no Second Amendment rights. So we've had bills where, within the last 2 years, where they're trying to make marriage counselors, trying to give marriage counselors the ability to have your guns confiscated if they decide in their professional opinion that you're somehow a danger to yourself or others. Unaccountable, by the way. Unaccountable. So if they're wrong or they just don't like that you own guns, they could do that under this legislation. But the question is why? When they already have pretty much everything you could have, why is it that they want more? Well, if you ask them, what they will tell you is, well, there's this evil tool in society, whatever it is, whether it's a high-capacity magazine, a certain type of firearm, there's this tool. It's bad, it's evil, it's a killer, and if we just get rid of this one tool, we will all somehow be safer, right? How many of you have heard that? Okay, some of you, okay, almost a lot of you have heard that. So that's what they say to the press, that's what they say at their legislative hearings. But let me ask you a question, okay? It's not about tools, right? If it were about tools, here's the question, right? If box cutters could bring down the World Trade Center, does anybody think that banning box cutters is going to stop the next terror attack? No, of course not. Well, why? Why is that? The answer is because there's nothing inherently evil about the tool. It's the wrongdoer. It's the evildoer. It's the intent of the person. And someone who is bent on doing evil is not going to be deterred if you take away that particular tool. They'll just find another tool. You know, I'm sad to say this, but 7 years ago I was saying to legislators that if you take away the guns, you know, guess what? A car driven into a crowd can be more lethal than a firearm, right? Unfortunately, that's been proven true more than we'd like to admit over and over again more recently. There are places where guns are banned. You know, there was a few years ago, there was a massacre, a Chinese railway massacre, where one person with a knife killed like 30 people, okay? You know, and it read just like one of the gun massacres. So the bottom line is, you can ban a tool, but that's not going to stop anybody. And by the way, who follows gun bans? We do, right? Do criminals follow gun bans? Does a criminal say, oh, there's a gun-free zone, I better check my illegal firearm, put it away because there's a gun-free zone? Or you think a criminal says, oh, I'm going to break into that house, better not bring a 30-round magazine with me because New Jersey's limited to 15, right? Criminals laugh at these laws. They ignore them. The only people who follows them are the law-abiding, people like us. And so, you know, bottom line, there's only one gun law that we need in the United States and in New Jersey. You commit a violent crime with a gun, we lock you up and throw away the key. Everything else, without exception, everything is about our rights. It's about finding a new way to find some new evil thing, some low-hanging fruit to pick away and pick away and pick away, to chip away at our rights brick by brick. And you know, I'm sad to say that in New Jersey, sometimes there are gun owners who agree with that and say, you know what, let them take the, you know, there should be a 50 caliber ban, or we should have lower capacity in our magazines. No way, okay? If you follow that logic, where that logic leads is complete disarmament. And by the way, that's the answer to the question, why is it that they keep calling for more and more laws, even though they have everything? And the answer is because they want to eradicate private gun ownership. Now, I didn't always believe that. You know, when I was a little younger and more naive, and when I first got involved as an activist in this cause, one of the things I said is, you know, it's just that they don't understand. Nobody's explained it to them right, okay? If someone could just explain it to these people right, they will understand. And you know, maybe that is true for a small percentage of legislators. But the bottom line is, for the majority of anti-gun legislators, it is about banning guns. They don't believe law-abiding citizens should be allowed to own guns. Okay, anybody who doubts that, and again, it took me a long time till I realized that, need go no further than the hot mic comments of a few years ago, of 2013, where 3 state senators, female state senators, sat after a committee hearing. I thought the microphone was off, but it was recorded on the state recording, talking about banning guns. They said this legislation that we just passed didn't go far enough. We should have banned it, banned them all. Okay, that is their agenda. And so, now the thing is, they're always coming up with new and creative ways to try to sell this. And a certain percentage of the population swallows it, and the media always, always, always trumpets it. And so, an interesting phenomenon has happened in the last 5 to 10 years, and that is that all politicians, pro-gun and anti-gun, now begin a lot of their speeches saying, well, by the way, I support the Second Amendment, which now has become code for the diametrical opposite. When a liberal gets up and talks about supporting the Second Amendment, it now means to me the opposite. So here's a little tool. You hear all the time people say they focus on gun violence. Never gun crime, by the way, right? Gun violence. We have to eliminate the scourge of gun violence. How many of you have heard something like that? Oh, we have to go after the problem of gun violence. Well, here is a little handy trick. If you want to know exactly what their intent is, substitute the word ownership for violence. We have to address the scourge of gun ownership. We have to solve the problem of gun ownership. That is, they're saying gun violence, but gun ownership is exactly what they mean. So you can cut right through the nonsense. Just substitute that word in your head and you will see exactly where they're coming from. So bringing us to present day, right, and as Evan was talking about, Governor Christie has had our backs. No matter what you think of him, he's been the best governor we've ever had in New Jersey on guns. And by the way, that didn't happen by accident. That took a lot of very hard work on the part of a number of people, Evan included, to get a politician in New Jersey comfortable enough with vetoing things like a .50 caliber ban, like a magazine ban, to actually come out against smart guns, etc., to do all those pardons. Those didn't happen magically. They happened through hard work and convincing people of the righteousness of our position. But the bottom line is, we've become complacent because we have come to assume that the governor is going to continue to have our back, but I got news for you. Come January, he is gone, and he's not coming back. And one of two people is going to be the next governor of New Jersey. Either a guy named Phil Murphy or a former sheriff named Kim Guadagno, and who's the current lieutenant governor of the state of New Jersey. How many of you heard these names? Okay. All right, so who's Phil Murphy? Well, President Obama appointed him as ambassador of Germany. He is a Wall Street multimillionaire, came out of Goldman Sachs. He's never held elected office before. He cleared the field of people who have been jockeying to run for governor on the left for like the last 5 to 7 years. He cleared that field. People think he's buying his way into a governorship. People say it's inevitable that he's going to win. He has to win. It's New Jersey, right? He is kind of like John Corzine and Mike Bloomberg rolled into one. Basically a self-righteous multimillionaire who thinks he knows better. And I'm going to share with you what you'll find on his candidate website, what he has to say about guns. I think you'll find it interesting. The title of this article is Getting Tough on Gun Violence. Gun violence? Getting tough on gun ownership. That's what he means. Unlike Chris Christie, he says, I won't pander to special interests like the NRA. Gun violence, read ownership, is a public health crisis and we must pursue smart, sensible solutions. So what are his smart, sensible solutions? Specifically, as governor, Phil Murphy would sign common sense legislation that Christie vetoed. Phil Murphy would start by signing every piece of gun violence prevention legislation that Governor Christie has vetoed. These bills would have enacted bipartisan and sensible solutions such as keeping guns out of the hands of gang members and domestic abusers. Okay, so that means they declare a smart gun, a gun ban, a ban on every conventional handgun ever made. That means a ban on .50 caliber firearms. And by the way, it wasn't a .50 BMG. It was inline muzzle loaders. It was Civil War flintlocks and muskets. okay? It was thousands, well, hundreds of guns. In fact, Evan helped us put together the list of several hundred guns that it would have banned. It means magazine capacity limitations. It means using every tool at their disposal to go after our rights, not gun violence, gun ownership. Okay, what else would he do? Mandate gun safety training. No one should be able to purchase a firearm without first attending a gun safety training course. Okay, now that's great for the NRA Education and Training Department. It's great for ANJRPC that has its own training program, but it's not right for gun owners because you shouldn't condition the exercise of a constitutional right on taking a class. Do you have to take a public speaking class before you can speak in public? I don't think so. Promote smart gun technology. We must regain our position as a leader in the smart gun movement by requiring all gun retailers to carry at least one smart gun once they're commercially available. And by the way, guess what? Guess when they're going to declare them commercially available? Like the day after he wins, if he wins. Okay? And again, that means a gun ban. For those of you who don't know, New Jersey's smart gun law passed in 2002 says once there's a smart gun commercially available, within a certain period of time, after that period expires, you cannot sell or transfer a conventional handgun in the state of New Jersey. It's a gun ban. Tax gun sales to prevent violence. All gun sales should be subject to a tax that will fund law enforcement, drug treatment centers, and mental health services. Okay, so can we solve gun crime by throwing money at it? I don't think so. This is just a way to punish gun owners, right? It's a way to punish them, to make life more difficult, and also to target lower income parts of the population that won't be able to afford it and to impact their rights. Strengthen regulations on gun transfers. Okay, how many of you have done a gun transfer? Okay, all of you. How many of you have applied for permits and waited and waited and waited? Okay, so anybody here done a private sale, a lawful private sale in New Jersey? Okay, where guess what? You have to have your FID card, a government issued credential, where you have to have your permit to purchase a handgun if it's a handgun. There's no such thing as unlawful private sales in New Jersey. They all require government scrutiny, so what more is it that he wants to do? Direct the Attorney General to vigorously defend our gun laws. Well, for the first time in as long as I've been doing this, we now have the Attorney General actually working with us. That's going to turn around 180. So that's who Phil Murphy is. He wants to be governor very badly, and like I said, everybody thinks he's inevitable. Everybody thinks he's inexorable. Everybody thinks he can't be stopped. Okay, so obviously he would be an unmitigated disaster. In New Jersey, the legislature is still currently controlled by anti-gunners. So if we have someone like that, a true believer on the other side, we're being set up for slaughter with him. Okay, so who is Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno? Well, not a lot is known about her position on guns, okay? Like I said, she's been Secretary of State and Lieutenant Governor for the last 8 years. She is a former sheriff. She is a military mom. We know she carried a gun on the job. Now, how many of you saw your NRA ratings before the primaries last week, okay? And noticed that we gave her a question mark. Okay, we gave her a question mark because she didn't fill out a questionnaire. That's what we do. That doesn't mean we don't know her. It doesn't mean we don't know who she is. It doesn't mean that I haven't met personally with her. I have. And I can tell you, of all the lawmakers and politicians and candidates I've met with, I came there to educate her, but she actually knew a lot of what I was going to tell her, okay, before I told it to her. That's refreshing. I'll also tell you, for members of the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs, you might have noticed there was a full-page ad that she took in our last member magazine, okay, and what does it say? It says, Kim Guadagno for governor, sheriff, prosecutor, military mom, quote, Kim Guadagno is running for governor to make New Jersey better for law-abiding gun owners. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take that in a heartbeat over Phil Murphy, okay? So let me just say, because they're, you know, listen, everybody had their factions and had the person they wanted to win. As governor, a lot of people think, well, she has baggage because she was Governor Christie's lieutenant governor. His numbers are in the tank. She can't win. I hear it all. And by the way, I've heard it all. Right after Newtown, when Connecticut's gun laws fell, when New York State's gun laws fell, when Colorado's gun laws fell in a tidal wave of anti-gun sentiment, New Jersey didn't fall. And it didn't fall because we didn't accept what has to be. And that's the core of my message to you today is the surest way for Phil Murphy to win is for us to believe that he will win and to not take the actions that we need to take in order for him to lose, to defeat him. Okay? So the bottom line is that we have to do our part. Nobody knows what the outcome is, and I can tell you in 2013, it looked like our heads were going to be cut off. It looked like every bad law that was coming down the pike was going to pass, and guess what? We kept marching. We decided no matter what the odds, we're going to give this everything we have. We're going to plant our feet. We're going to declare that we are the defenders of freedom, and we're going to act accordingly. And that's my message to you today. Okay? Now you say, well, but how can we possibly do it? Here's the answer to that. There's 1 million of us. There are approximately 1 million gun owners, hunters, and sportsmen in this state. If every one of them gets out and votes, guess what? Phil Murphy loses. If every one of us gets those people out to vote and they bring their friends and family, he loses huge. I don't care what the odds are. People say, well, look, and now I'm not going to pretend we're not facing some serious headwinds, right? Nationally, Democrats are very frustrated at what happened with the Trump election. There is a headwind there. There are people, New Jersey Democrats are looking for blood. They want revenge. They want to go out and make a statement against Trump by electing Murphy. That's something we have to overcome. But we can overcome it. So that's our job. Our job is to penetrate the grassroots of our community in New Jersey like it's never been penetrated before. And New Jersey's an interesting place because, like I said before, not every one of us thinks the same way. But the bottom line is, the biggest excuses I hear are, Guadagno can't win because she's got Christie baggage. Well, guess what? If 1 million of us come out and vote, you better believe she can win. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, you're going to hear more about that from NRA and from me and from the Association of New Jersey Rifle and Pistol Clubs. I can tell you right now, NRA has hired a team of full-time staff that has moved into the Garden State through the election to achieve precisely this objective, to penetrate the grassroots, to make sure there is no one out there who does not get to the polls who's on our side come election day. If you feel the call to volunteer and get more involved, we can definitely do that. We need teams of people to do that. There are also opportunities throughout the state to pick up legislative seats. I'm not going to detail those for you. That'll definitely put you to sleep, and my time is probably waning. But what I'm going to say is impossible is what we do. It's what New Jersey gun owners do. We have been through every nightmare you can possibly imagine. We've survived. We've come out pretty much unscathed, and we're going to do that again. And I can tell you, we've done it over and over. We can do it now. Nothing is impossible. Never give up. Our job is to defend freedom, and that's what we're going to do. And with that, I know you came here to learn about New Jersey and PA gun law. And thank you for being here. Thank you for doing your part to defend freedom. And remember, it's a little early to talk about Election Day. It's up to each one of us. One person can make a difference. One person who decides can make all the difference. That's you. That's me. That's all of us. So with that, thank you all for having me, and guess we'll proceed with the real reason you came here. Thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and if I can just add my own thing, I mean, we've seen miracles in this country. Back on November 8th, we know that this happens. Get out and vote. Bring your friends to vote. You know what to do. That's why you're here. That's why you guys are down here. You're the low-hanging fruit. First off, real quick, I just want to do the first